Me pop up this. A draw in a friend Ruta mix. Yeah, come on, a draw. And running Ruta. So
Trap and the draw Kuabaso body assay. Wabo Ruta mixture, Abaso. Ruta natural products and one Ruta mixture. Yeah, you could see a treat. Ruta tonic and the Ruta life for a who a finish like the bunny, a finipedium. Nasa support the immune system. Ruta de Obiasia, FDA, and the drinking crap to Yatu.
The law is pertinent to every aspect of our lives, and so lawyers must not be the backup plan for the rainy day only.
Nothing received from a client should be put in a lawyer's personal account until such time that the money has actually been earned.
It is very dangerous to perpetuate the theory that it is narcotics that leads to crime increase.
The relevance of the law cuts across our business, social, and family transactions. Doubt this?
You can't borrow from somebody who's your client. That would lead to a conflict situation. And that's something that as a lawyer you must jealously guard when you are representing a client.
You have to register your Mohammedan marriage within 7 days?
Within a week of the celebration of the marriage.
So if you don't register it, it's not a valid marriage. Journey with our Law Express panel every week as we confirm the place of the law in our everyday transactions.
Under etiquette rules, a lawyer can terminate for non-payment of fees. So basically, if you don't pay your fees, a lawyer has a right to terminate your engagement.
This is Swift Africa.
So there's some look fast. Baba, me again. Yes, we are late. Me quite remember who hear me. Meant me and sent my friend doctor when I'm crossing over. See what we swear.
She has malaria.
Malaria. Oh, what they say with the Ruta? Me copy the evidence here. A draw in a friend Ruta mixer. Yeah, come on, a draw. And running Ruta. So
Trap and the draw Kuabaso body assay. Wabo Ruta mixture, Abaso. Ruta natural products and one Ruta mixture. Yeah, you could see a treat. Ruta tonic and the Ruta life for a who a finish like the bunny, a finipedium. Nasa support the immune system. Ruta de Obiasia, FDA, and the drinking crap to Yatu.
The law is pertinent to every aspect of our lives, and so lawyers must not be the backup plan for the rainy day only.
Nothing received from a client should be put in a lawyer's personal account until such time that the money has actually been earned.
It is very dangerous to perpetuate the theory that it is narcotics that leads to crime increase.
The relevance of the law cuts across our business, social, and family transactions. Doubt this?
You can't borrow from somebody who's your client. That would lead to a conflict situation. And that's something that as a lawyer you must jealously guard when you are representing a client.
You have to register your Mohammedan marriage within 7 days?
Within a week of the celebration of the marriage.
So if you don't register it, it's not a valid
It's not
marriage. Journey with our Law Express panel every week as we confirm the place of the law in our everyday transactions.
Under etiquette rules, a lawyer can terminate for non-payment of fees. So basically, if you don't pay your fees, a lawyer has a right to terminate your engagement.
This is Swift Africa.
Oh, hello, and welcome yet to another edition of your favorite Wednesday Palaver. Today we have in the studio a very young, astute socialist activist who has been with the Accra Collective for some time now, and we have the honor of hosting him today to look at the ongoing, or should I say the suspended strike action of lab scientists, as we call them. They used to be called lab technicians. Now, I think they are called lab scientists. And the general, state of our health system in this country. As we've always done it, we're going to have the lead discussant to come onto the podium to, discuss or lead the discussion for 30 minutes. Thereafter, we will invite studio audience to give their questions and submission if they have any. Then our viewers at home can send us text messages through our WhatsApp platform, Facebook, Instagram, and all the other channels that are available. So that will be the standard procedure like we have always, had. Mr. Ibrahim Baja is our lead discussant for today on that topic. So without much ado, let's give it a round of applause for him.
Good evening, comrades and friends in the studio. A very good evening to our viewers on Pan-African TV and on social media. The medical laboratory scientists declared a nationwide strike over issues relating to their conditions of service, as well as clearance to recruit more medical laboratory scientists in the country. Now, the issues are quite complicated, even though it looks a bit simple. I mean, the main issues are better conditions of service and then financial clearance to recruit more medical laboratory scientists. Now, they issued a statement declaring their intention to strike on the 3rd of June 2024. And then on the 17th of June, the strike commenced. And then on the 21st of June, they suspended the strike to continue negotiations with the Fair Wages and Salary Commissions. As I stated earlier, the main reason for their strike is for better conditions of service, as well as for the government to grant them clearance to recruit more, or the government to recruit more medical laboratory scientists. I mean, since the strike started, a lot of people have tried to undermine their relevance or the work they do. However, within that short period they strike, currently the strike has been suspended. Within that short period they embarked on the strike. There have been some impact of this strike action on the ordinary Ghanaian or the working people of our country. There have been delays in getting test results because the people who are supposed to process these tests at the hospitals are on strike. So there have been some delays in test results. Also, there have been postponement of surgeries because people who have had their surgeries scheduled to take place had to postpone it because there are no medical laboratory scientists to test samples and then to also collect samples for testing. And so people have had to postpone their surgeries. Also, cost of laboratory has also become expensive because once the medical laboratory scientists are not working, the only option you have if you want a lab results urgently is to opt for a private facility, which is quite expensive. And so the cost of laboratory has also gone up. And then it has also compromised healthcare delivery within that few period. Healthcare practitioners or physician assistants, doctors will have to compromise on some of the things they do. For instance, certain cases that needs to be tested by the laboratory scientists are unable to be tested, and so they will just look at you, look at the condition, and then attach their experience to just guess the sickness that is worrying you, and then recommend medications for you, which compromise the healthcare delivery. When you go to the hospital and you have headache, you are feeling cold and all those stuff, instead of them to test for malaria, to test for other illness, because the scientists are not available, they will just have to, assume you have malaria or assume you have any sickness, and then they will give you medications. And that really compromises the healthcare delivery within that few period. So people have tried to undermine their relevance in our system, but they are also very important. They play a crucial role as far as our healthcare delivery is concerned. In fact, every single worker of this country plays a very crucial role. And so once the working people of this country, regardless of the work they do, they begin to agitate, their concerns should be taken as a matter of urgency and then treated as a matter of urgency. There are some certain key issues about the strike. First of all, I would like to say that every worker of this country who protests or who decides to undertake an industrial strike action is doing it because he deserves better services or better conditions of services. No worker decides to embark on a strike because they would like to disenfranchise or they would like to affect the working people of our country. In fact, with the issue of the medical laboratory scientists, the people who suffer the most are the working people of our country, because the politicians and the big people, the businessmen, the rich people, they can fly outside for healthcare delivery. But those who suffer the most are we the working people of our country. And so if the working people also decides to undertake an industrial strike action, it is not because they hate the working people of our country, but because they deserve better conditions of service, or because they have legitimate concerns to undertake that strike action. The Fair Wages and Salary Commission issued a statement, and then they described the strike action by these medical laboratory scientists as unfair, untenable, unjustifiable, and unnecessary. These are very strong words for the working people of our country and the medical laboratory scientists for that matter. According to the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, they say they've dealt with 29 out of 39 issues brought to them by the medical laboratory scientists. And so the outstanding issues left are very few. And so they do not understand why the medical laboratory scientists decided to undertake this strike action. I mean, they may have a legitimate concern, because if you have 39 issues and then we've dealt with 29 issues, why do you still have to undertake a strike action? But the other issues, or the outstanding issues, are the most critical issues that they want. According to them, and based on the research I've done, most of the 29 issues are issues that were dealt with at the organized labor front. Those issues have been dealt with at the TUEC level. But the issues they are fighting for are issues peculiar to them. Issues peculiar to medical laboratory scientists. Key amongst them is for them to be given financial clearance to recruit more medical laboratory scientists in our healthcare facilities across the country. The other one is for them to have their own conditions of service. As we speak now, the medical laboratory scientists do not have their own conditions of service. They don't have their own conditions of service. The conditions of service they use are just the ones available within the system. And so they have a very legitimate concern. And so I find the statement by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission as an unfortunate one, because these are working people of this country, and once they decide to undertake a strike action, the best you can do is to call them back to the negotiation table, try to engage them and see how best you can solve the issue. In fact, this issue, they began this issue for over 2 years now. And if over 2 years they've been patient, they've been engaging you, they've been compromising their stance and all those stuff, and they decided to strike, it means they are fed up. So I think that the Fair Wages and Salary Commission should have come again with their statement. The best thing to do is to engage them and then try to get them to compromise some of their stance, not to issue strong-worded statements. In fact, the medical laboratory scientists, they play a very crucial role as far as our healthcare system is concerned, because they are the forefront. They take samples, they test samples, and they are able to determine the kind of sickness worrying you for the physician or the doctor to prescribe medications for you. And so without them, there will be a gap in our healthcare delivery system in the country. And another interesting thing is that when they embarked on the strike, they were replaced by, according to the medical laboratory scientists, they said they were replaced by some unqualified staff at our facilities, which is very dangerous for our healthcare delivery. Because before you become a laboratory scientist, you need to undergo through some academic training, as well as some licensure process as well. And so they have qualified, they are trained, they are certified. So you can't just replace them with anybody at all. And so I think that that action was unnecessary. The best was for us to engage them as well. Now, one of the things that we normally do to undermine the work they do is that, one of the things they do is that, as a medical laboratory scientist, they usually interpret lab results using their eyes. Sometimes they use colors to differentiate between one illness and the other. So they have a way of looking at the results with their own eyes, and then they can interpret the results. They also look at certain screens which have relatively high brightness level, and so it affects their eyes. It affects their eyes, and that is the risk, or that is the extent to which medical laboratory scientists go through to deliver healthcare for us. And if they are demanding for better conditions of service, I think they have a legitimate concern. Also, they do not have any official health insurance policy. As people working in shall I say, a very dangerous environment, because dealing with sick people or dealing with people from all over the place, you are exposed to all kind of illness. You can be taking sample, and unfortunately, the syringe can also pinch you, and you don't know the kind of sickness you are taking. And so they have a very or they play a very crucial role as far as our healthcare system is concerned, and their health or their profession is very dangerous. The occupational hazard in that particular profession is enormous as far as the work is concerned. In fact, the highest revenue generating point of every hospital, especially the public hospitals, is the labs. If you go to the hospital, the only point or the point you pay money is either the laboratory section or the pharmacy. These are the only two places that you pay. And sometimes consultation. And even with the public hospitals, consultation is even covered by NHIS. I think that's the only significant thing that NHIS covers. The rest are just para and then amoxicillin. So they generate a lot of revenues to various health facilities across the country. And so if such workers are fighting for what they deserve, I think they have a legitimate concern. They have a legitimate concern. And if you look at some of their challenges they are asking for, or some of the things they are asking for clearance to be able to recruit a lot of medical laboratory scientists. They issued a communique on the May Day, that is 1st May. And one of the challenges they raised was that there are shortage of medical laboratory scientists in our system. And so they're asking for financial clearance isn't only to their benefit. In fact, those who are already in the system, they already have jobs. So why are they fighting for? But those who have completed school, those who have passed their licensing exams, and those who have had the certification without being posted, they are those they are fighting for. And they are not just fighting for them because they want jobs for them. They are fighting for them because they want them to come and complement the healthcare delivery in our country. And once these people are recruited and they get jobs, it helps we, the working people of our country, because we will have a better healthcare system in our country. And so I think these medical laboratory scientists really have legitimate concerns, and they should have been listened to, or they must be listened to. And as someone who always believes in the working people of this country, or who always advocates for the working people of this country, I think that these medical laboratory scientists have legitimate concerns, and they must be heard. If you look at the process of becoming a medical laboratory scientist, you need to go through the academic process. After the academic process, you need to go and write their licensure exams before you can be certified as a medical laboratory scientist. And so if they go through all these processes and at the end of the day, they are not being posted to work, what have they achieved? And mind you, they incur a lot of financial costs. The school fees you pay at the various universities, the tuition you undertake for these licensure exams, even the fees you pay to get registered and all those stuff are enormous. And so what is the point in going through all this process and you are not being posted? You are not being posted not just because there are no spaces for you. There are a lot of spaces available for them to be employed. And at the end of the day, the resulting effect is on we, the working people of this country, because once there are gaps or once there are no medical laboratory scientists, it is we, the working people of this country, that suffers. And I think that it is one thing that the government must do. I mean, every year government says the payroll is full. We do not have money to recruit and all those stuff. But there are people in the flat staff house. There are a lot of people in the flat staff house. If you look at the Jubilee House, if you look at the report on staffers at the Jubilee House, there are many. I mean, any communicator you see, he's a presidential staffer. He works at the office of the vice president. All those people have been given jobs, or all those people have jobs. However, medical laboratory scientists who have gone through the university system, who have been certified, are not being posted. And if medical laboratory scientists protest through strike, I mean, Fair Wages and Salary Commission says their strike action is unjustifiable. Can you imagine? Also, there is a need for us to look at some of the general challenges affecting our healthcare delivery as a country. Our country is faced with a lot of healthcare challenges. For instance, recently, the oncology department of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital decided to embark on a nationwide strike, or they decided to embark on a strike because some equipment they need to work with have been broken down since 2023. Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, this is one of the biggest hospitals in the Ashanti region. The equipment they need to work with has broken down since 2023, and management are not fixing it, so they decided to undertake on a sit-down strike since 2023. So you can imagine this is the biggest, by far the biggest hospital in the Ashanti region, and the oncology departments are facing challenges with facilities or equipment. And for that matter, the doctors there decided to embark on a strike. Before coming, I think about 2 or 3 hours ago, I've heard that they've suspended that strike because management has agreed to engage them and see how best they can resolve that problem. And it looks like the only language our leaders or the people in authority understand is some of these radical approach, strike, demonstration, and other stuffs. I think that we need to find ways of addressing the healthcare challenges in our country. You can't tell me that the biggest hospital in the Ashanti region have challenges regarding their equipment. And even recently, it's the Otumfuo in Ashanti region had to organize a project, Hail Komfo-Anokye project, to solicit donation from citizens to be able to renovate the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. All the facilities there have depleted or has deteriorated. Even the washrooms, the labs, everything there is not in good shape. So it had to take the intervention of the Ashanti kin to be able to solicit for funds and see how best they can renovate it. And one story that even came up in the course of the process was that some of the items they needed to import to help renovate the project were stocked at the port because they are not getting clearance, or they are not getting the support of the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Finance to clear the goods at the port. You, the government, you are not renovating the hospital. Private people have decided to contribute to renovate the hospital, just facilitate for them to clear the goods they need to renovate the hospital to. It has become another issue. And that is one of the challenges of our healthcare system. I think somewhere last year, the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, I've not found out whether it has been open or not, was closed down because they needed 4 million Ghana cedis to renovate the facility. The renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, one of the biggest hospitals in the country. This renal unit was closed down because of 4 million Ghana cedis per the reports that came up. And you can have people who have $1 million in their homes. You can have people who have all sorts of money. People have monies to buy hotels worth over $61 million US. People have money to bid for hotels between 150 to 200 million US. But we couldn't get just 4 million Ghana cedis to renovate the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And it's serious. The health system is very crucial to every country. Also, just this year, the cost of dialysis at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital increased from 380 cedis to 491 Ghana cedis. If you are to undertake 3 sessions of dialysis every week, that's you'll spend around 1,500 Ghana cedis. If you're an ordinary worker, let's say you are just a normal civil servant or public servant, do you think you can afford this outrageous cost? How much is your salary for the month? Not to talk of spending that huge amount of money just for dialysis. And so, if you are working in this country, you just have to be hoping that you wouldn't fall sick, because once you fall sick or you contract any serious illness, you are doomed. Let's say you are supposed to undertake dialysis 3 times every week. That's almost 1,500 Ghana cedis. And government have announced that cost of dialysis will be absorbed by the National Health Insurance for people below 18 and people above 60. And then they will subsidize for people between 18 to 60. Now, let's ask ourselves, who are the active population? The working people are between from the 18, they are those people from the 18 years to 59 years. Above 60, the person is on pension. So if you are taking or if you are bringing up initiative to benefit the working people of this country, why will you exclude the active working class? And even with that, there are a lot of researchers that have said that with the amount of money government is voting into this project, it may not be able to absorb the cost of dialysis. We may end up with the situation where NHIS will always be in arrears. NHIS will not be able to pay for some of these dialysis costs. And so instead of our leaders to think through and bring a more pragmatic and practical solution to our problem, we are interested in bringing up just populist solutions and then slogans just to win votes. And that is a serious problem with our country. Just this year, I think last week, within this month, the National Health Insurance issued a statement that they've paid arrears or they've paid claims till up to January 2024. Can you imagine? Hospitals were still owed since 2023. They were still owed NHIS claims. And you are telling me that you want to add cost of dialysis to NHIS. Even the existing ones, the normal malaria and the normal illness, they are unable to pay for the services. Always healthcare facilities need to be on NHIS for them to pay. Even with that one, they are unable to absorb the cost or they are unable to make prompt settlements. But they want to add dialysis to it. Instead of looking at how you can even reduce it. If the cost of dialysis is very low, let's say 50 cedis, 100 cedis, you wouldn't even need the health insurance to come in to absorb for certain people, not even all people, certain people. And we are told that they will subsidize for the people within 18 to 59 years. Up to now, we haven't heard anything about that. And so, we need to take healthcare system very serious in our country. Looks like we prioritize certain issues more than healthcare issues. We prioritize our leaders living luxurious life than the healthcare of the working people of our country. Also, within this month or last month, there was also another report that some items from the Global Fund have been left at the port for over a year because government have not been able to clear those items. I'm just imagining, you have not gone to purchase the item. Someone is giving it to you for free. It has arrived at your doorstep. Just go and get the items. It has also become another issue because government is unable to pay for the charges at the port. If these are government items, if government is unable to pay for its own items at the port, how much more the normal businessmen? How much more the ordinary people who import things from outside? How can they be able to clear their items? So government is telling you that we know the challenges, but we don't want to give you solutions, or we don't want to solve the problems. Even we, as a government, we are also facing that same challenges, but we don't want to bring up solutions. However, if you are able to re-elect us, we will provide the solutions for you. That is serious. Also, people have also begun to resort to faith healing. Now people tend to trust pastors and malams to heal them instead of going to the hospitals. And that is serious. You watch television and the kind of people or the kind of illness that are being brought to churches and, various religious places to be healed. I sometimes wonder, well, these are religious matters and everyone has his own belief. But there are certain things are very obvious. Why don't you solve the practical challenges that we face? If you are sick and you go to the hospital for treatment, isn't that the simplest option for you to go? Because the spiritual option you are resorting to is 50-50. And that people are left with no option to resort to that because they cannot afford cost of healthcare, or our healthcare facilities are not in good state, or our general healthcare system is not in good state. And then one major challenge that we seem not to take serious is that most of our qualified and then professional healthcare practitioners are leaving the country. People or healthcare nurses, doctors, physician assistants, they are all leaving the country and they are going to seek greener pastures. Someone can be a senior nurse in Ghana with over 15 years or 10 years experience. The person will prefer to go and be a healthcare assistant in the UK because they are poorly remunerated. And I wouldn't be the one to say they shouldn't leave. Or if my family member is a nurse, I can only advise not to leave. But you can't force them to stay because they are poorly remunerated in this country. I can't tell them not to go. But what I can do is I can advocate for government to remunerate them very well. Because if you are being paid very well in this country, there's no need to travel. But because our healthcare professionals are poorly remunerated, they have no option than to leave the country. So you have a principal nursing officer, 20 years of experience in nursing. The person prefers to leave this country to go and be a healthcare assistant in the UK or in the US. And this is one challenge that we seem not to take very serious in this country. So I would like to bring my presentation to a close by recommending some few things that I think the government can do to fix the pressing healthcare challenges we have in our country. I think that the government or the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, they must be proactive in negotiating with all organized workers in this country, not just health practitioners, the lecturers, the civil servants, the public servants, the local government staff, and all those people. Government must be proactive. You know inflation has crossed 30%. You know times are hard. You know cost of living is high. You don't have to wait for these workers to agitate before you start negotiation. Sometimes you can say, you can even call them to negotiation table just to slow down the process, because if they begin to agitate, the only option they have is to strike. And so I think government must be proactive rather than being reactive in terms of negotiating with the working people of our country. Also, I think that this current issue must be resolved, because according to the medical laboratory scientists, they are saying that they've only suspended the strike to engage in negotiations. Who knows, if the negotiation does not go well, they may also return to their strike. And so I think that as a matter of urgency, we must not allow issues to escalate. Those in charge or the relevant authorities must engage them to ensure that we do not have to face another issue of a strike. The strike was just for about a week, and its impact was very severe. Its impact was very severe. Government must be able to grant clearance to recruit more medical laboratory scientists in our country. Not just medical laboratory scientists, even nurses and other healthcare professionals, because the healthcare system is very crucial to every country. That is the healthcare system we have. Perhaps the leaders of our country, they are very rich to the extent that they can go outside for healthcare. But we, the working people, we do not have that resources to go outside for healthcare. We will only resort to the healthcare systems we have here. And so government must grant financial clearance for us to recruit more healthcare practitioners in our systems, in our healthcare system. And then lastly, we must improve the infrastructure. Look, you go to public hospitals, and even the seats the waiting seat is even in a complete bad state. There are no beds at the hospitals. The washrooms are bad. The equipment are bad. And it's serious. No one seems to care. Because for them, if they are sick, they will just fly. But you and I, if you are sick, we do not have anywhere to go than that healthcare facility. And so we must all come together and then advocate for some of these reforms. And one of the last thing I will say regarding the strike of the medical laboratory scientists is that they have been pushing for the formation of or the establishment of medical laboratory council, or a council to regulate the medical laboratory profession. We have the Pharmacy Council, we have Nursing and Midwifery Council, we have other councils. I think that government must hear them and then form the Medical Laboratories Council to regulate their operations and the activities of the medical laboratory scientists in our country. They have been advocating for it for a very long time, and I think that government must hear them and then form that council to ensure that our medical laboratory scientists are properly regulated. I would like to end here and then invite the questions, comments, and then contributions from our studio audience and viewers.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. That was a wonderful lead, approach to your discussion. I'll now call on those of you in the studio who want to make one or two comments. If you have any comment or contribution, just one or two. Yes, Conrad.
Good evening, studio audience and fellow viewers out there. We are very grateful to Mr. Comrade Bada for this very, very scientific explanation of events happening in the hospital. And there was one thing I'd love to put across. First, it's a known fact that the government policy is to extend healthcare delivery across the length and breadth of the country. But despite all these things, which is even provided in our constitution, less than 5% of our gross domestic product is expended on the health delivery system in the country, and which is so bad. And when you look at what is happening, you realize that deep inside the rural areas, you only have health posts. And when you look at the health posts, it's very, very, very serious. Our health posts in the various rural areas are very much dilapidated. So what is happening is that a lot of the mass of the people in the rural areas are forced to attend to this kind of local traditional medicine. And from reliable sources, a lot of them are incurring serious ailments as a practice of these local medications, because you don't know the amount of the medicine you have to take. You don't know all these things, and it's very, very complicating issues. When you come to, in fact, the urban centers, you see the buildings have been put there, but when you enter, like our resource person have said, it's all dilapidated, you don't have anything. But one thing we should know that is that the state of our hospital, of our health delivery system, is a reflection of the economy, the way and manner this current government is running the economy. What we should note is that all the social institutions are complementary. If you don't have a good health delivery system, it will affect the marriage and health. It will affect the marriage and family system, because people are weakened. In the family, people are weakened. They don't have even money to attend to hospital. So what they are now practicing, like our ladies concerned, is faith healing. We've seen people being sent to these thaumaturgical churches, and they are being chained to walls. They are being chained just to be treated because of lack of all this medical attention. So we'll call on our government, our current leadership, that they should stop amassing the wealth. Recently it has been said somebody died and they went to his account and they found $30 million. What? How can that be? $30 million? So we are telling them they should stop, because when the balloon breaks down, it will be terrible for the country. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the studio and also our lovely viewers. I have just one or two pleas to make to the government. All I want to say is that the government should look at the lab scientists, what they need for things to run at the hospital, and also not only that, but the cost of living in this country is very high for us. When things are not going on well, for instance, the scientists going on strike, and also the cost of living in the country when it is high, how can we afford to look at our health status? So I'm pleading on the government to take a look at that.
Okay, it appears we're having some challenges with Facebook and getting messages on Facebook and WhatsApp and some of the social media platforms. So we might have to skip that for our viewers at home. So sorry about that if you have sent in messages that we cannot read. Before I call Mr. Baja, I mean, the little I like to add is that we are doomed as a nation if we continue this way. I mean, a country that places priority and premium on building cathedrals rather than investing in its people is heading towards a ditch. A country that will spend about $58 million in putting up a cathedral as a promise by an individual rather than injecting that into education, into healthcare, and, critical sectors of our economy is not, for me, a very thinking country. And I think that we are not holding the feet of those leading us, to the burning fire. Why am I saying this? Because some of these things come up, we talk about them casually, and then, something worse than that comes up. And it has been the style for some time now. So it's very important that, especially as young men and women in this country, that we take some of these things very seriously. Because whatever those in power, those in governance, those at the helm of affairs are doing today is going to affect the younger ones coming up. So it's important that we take things very seriously than we are taking. I mean, we've all seen what is happening in Kenya today. Let's not think that it cannot happen in Ghana. It can. Today in this country, if you're suffering from a certain disease, from a certain sickness that requires dialysis, or some form of sickness that requires you to pay some amount of money, you might as well just die. Let me put it that way, unfortunately, because your family might not be able to afford it. I mean, a dialysis process of 3 times a week. So you are condemned to die in this part of our world if you suffer certain sicknesses. And that is very, very unacceptable. We're living in a country where people still have to travel to cross water, to cross bridges. I mean, if there are any, better bridges anyway, from rural areas to urban areas to access healthcare. And yet, like the earlier speaker said, people are amassing wealth. People are amassing wealth not just through, the governance structures, but even by burdening the ordinary Ghanaian with taxes and through the pharmaceutical industries, let me put it that way. I mean, any state that makes money out of the misery of its people has a problem. But unfortunately, that is the state we're living in. And like I'm saying, it's quite unfortunate. And it cannot continue that way. Before I draw the curtains, I'd like to call on our lead discussant to come back to the podium and give us his last words before we pull down the curtain on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, studio audience, for your comments. Just 3 quick issues, then I wrap up. I think that, first of all, one in relation to the medical laboratory scientists, I think that their issues are very clear. And one of the reasons why we keep facing some of these industrial actions is because of inequalities in the salary structures. Because we have healthcare professionals in the same industry, yet some are being treated higher than the others. Some concerns are being addressed, others are not. I mean, if you look at those in the health systems, those who are closer to management, whenever their issues come, they address very quickly. Those who are outside management, like the medical laboratory scientists, they always have to rant over their issues for a very long time, and that is some of the problems we face in our countries. Even if you look at the educational system, you have issues with TUTAG and then UTAG. Technical University Teachers Association will always have issues with the government because they feel they attended the same schools with those in UTAG. However, those in UTAG have better conditions of service than those in TUTAG. And it's cut across all areas. So I think that addressing some of these issues, the first thing has to be that we need to address the inequality gap. The second thing that we talked about is that we are hearing Agenda 111, and it looks like we've committed a lot of resources into publicity and the branding of the project rather than the project itself. I don't know the number of hospitals that have been constructed, but I think that we must not, clamor for some of these slogans and some of these, rhetorics. The real actions must be done. You can't spend more money on logos and publicity than the actual project. And even with that, in designing the facilities and all those stuff, I'm told that, or per my research, medical laboratory scientists are not part of any board or any official discussions in terms of drawing up the infrastructure and other stuff. Because one of the challenges they face is that their healthcare facilities do not even have changing rooms for medical laboratory scientists. And I think that it's all boils down to the inequality I talked about earlier. The last thing is that I think that the working people of our country or the young people of our country are not too angry enough. I keep saying this. The politicians you serve today or the politicians that you are always following are the same people amassing wealth for their children, themselves and their future generations. You grow up to contest positions with them and their children, and because of the wealth they've amassed today, they will beat you. Their children will beat you to the positions, and they will come and govern the same way their fathers governed. And I think we as young people, we must take a very important lesson from some of these things. We must be angry enough to demand for the right things to be done. I salute the people of Kenya, the young people of Kenya, for their bravery yesterday. Not even guns could stop them. And I wish that one day the working people of this country will be able to rise up and ensure that the right things are done in our country. E-levy came. We made all the noise. It was still passed. I think we are not angry enough. We can do better as a country. Thank you very much. And then we will meet again.
Yes, so we are not angry enough is the final words that Comrade Baja leaves us with. That we must be angry enough, we must research enough to see what is going on in this country, and we must speak up as young people when things are not right. Let's rise up against, above petty tribal lines and party politicking, and place Ghana first and above everything that we do. On that note, I'm going to say thank you so much to our studio audience. Thank you to our viewers at home. Those of you who watched us from Facebook and other social media outlets, we're saying very big thank you to all of you. You are the reason why this program is a success. Please do not touch the dial. Keep your dial where it is with Pan-African TV, where we bring you everything, nothing but the best. We bring you the best in entertainment, the best in education, and the best in everything that you seek. From me and the rest of us, the team here, we say thank you and bye-bye until we meet again next week. Thank you.
How can we have some local fast?